I am for doing good to the poor, but I differ in opinion about the means. I think the best way of doing good to the poor is not making them easy in poverty, but leading or driving them out of it. Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech. I wake up every morning at 9. And grab for the morning paper. Then I look at the obituary page. If my name is not on it, I get up. A life of leisure and a life of laziness are two things. There will be sleeping enough in the grave. He that is of the opinion money will do everything may well be suspected of doing everything for money. For having lived long, I have experienced many instances of being obliged, by better information or fuller consideration, to change opinions, even on important subjects, which I once thought right but found to be otherwise. He that displays too often his wife and his wallet is in danger of having both of them borrowed. How few there are who have courage enough to own their faults, or resolution enough to mend them. Most people return small favors, acknowledge medium ones and repay greater ones, with ingratitude. There is no kind of dishonesty into which otherwise good people more easily and frequently fall than that of defrauding the government. Human felicity is produced not as much by great pieces of good fortune that seldom happen as by little advantages that occur every day. And whether you're an honest man, or whether you're a thief, depends on whose solicitor has given me my brief. It is the eye of other people that ruin us. If I were blind I would want, neither fine clothes, fine houses or fine furniture. Your net worth to the world is usually determined by what remains after your bad habits are subtracted from your good ones. In my youth, I traveled much, and I observed in different countries, that the more public provisions were made for the poor, the less they provided for themselves, and of course became poorer. And, on the contrary, the less was done for them, the more they did for themselves, and became richer. If all printers were determined not to print anything till they were sure it would offend nobody, there would be very little printed. Those disputing, contradicting, and confuting people are generally unfortunate in their affairs. They get victory, sometimes, but they never get goodwill, which would be of more use to them. As we enjoy great advantages from the inventions of others, we should be glad of an opportunity to serve others by any invention of ours, and this we should do freely and generously. Leisure is the time for doing something useful. This leisure the diligent person will obtain, the lazy one never. It is a grand mistake to think of being great without goodness, and I pronounce it as certain that there was never a truly great man that was not at the same time truly virtuous. There are two ways of being happy. We must either diminish our wants or augment our means, either may do. The result is the same, and it is for each man to decide for himself and to do that which happens to be easy. For my own part, I wish the bald eagle had not been chosen the representative of our country. He is a bird of bad moral character. He does not get his living honestly. I look upon death to be as necessary to our constitution as sleep. We shall rise refreshed in the morning. I have never entered into any controversy in defense of my philosophical opinions. I leave them to take their chance in the world. If they are right, truth and experience will support them. If wrong, they ought to be refuted and rejected. Disputes are apt to sour one's temper and disturb one's quiet. So convenient a thing it is to be a reasonable creature, since it enables one to find or make a reason for everything one has a mind to do. We are more thoroughly an enlightened people, with respect to our political interests, than perhaps any other under heaven. Every man among us reads, and is so easy in his circumstances as to have leisure for conversations of improvement and for acquiring information. I conceive that the great part of the miseries of mankind are brought upon them by false estimates they have made of the value of things. He that raises a large family does, indeed, while he lives to observe them, stand a broader mark for sorrow, but then he stands a broader mark for pleasure too. From a child I was fond of reading, and all the little money that came into my hands was ever laid out in books. Pleased with the Pilgrim's Progress, my first collection was of John Bunyan's works in separate little volumes. Gain may be temporary and uncertain, but ever while you live, expense is constant and certain, and it is easier to build 2 chimneys than to keep one in fuel. My elder brothers were all put apprentices to different trades. I was put to the grammar school at 8 years of age, my father intending to devote me, as the tithe of his sons, to the service of the church. Where there is a free government, and the people make their own laws by their representatives, I see no injustice in their obliging one another to take their own paper money. God grant that not only the love of liberty but a thorough knowledge of the rights of man may pervade all the nations of the earth, so that a philosopher may set his foot anywhere on its surface and say, "This is my country." There cannot be a stronger natural right than that of a man's making the best profit he can of the natural produce of his lands. I should have no objection to go over the same life from its beginning to the end, requesting only the advantage authors have, of correcting in a second edition the faults of the first. All who think cannot but see there is a sanction like that of religion which binds us in partnership in the serious work of the world. I have no private interest in the reception of my inventions by the world, having never made, nor propose to make, the least profit by any of them. Those who govern, having much business on their hands, do not generally like to take the trouble of considering and carrying into execution new projects. The best public measures are therefore seldom adopted from previous wisdom, but forced by the occasion. Click link in bio for free study notes. Limited spots. Follow us now. Study Note 10.